Hello, everyone. It's another Wednesday with your fertility specialist. On behalf of Alps Hospitals, I love to say thank you to our dear viewers. Thank you for liking our post. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for always staying glued to your screen whenever we have our sessions. Today, we're talking about sickle cell and how to plan their conception. Because I know a lot of us have seen family planning and we're wondering what family planning and sickle cell has to do with family planning. So, yes, we'll be unveiling that mystery today. And to talk about this today, we have Dr. Deborah Olubi. Oh, yes, I just remembered. In our last session, Dr. Deborah, I
Yes.
almost addressed Dr. Ken as a family physician. Yeah.
He's welcome. He's welcome. Yeah. The more the
Yeah.
merrier.
So, for someone watching for the first time, it might interest you to know that Dr. Deborah is a family physician. She's an IVF specialist, a fertility specialist, and also the head of IVF at Alps Hospitals. So, yes, you can channel all your talks about IVF just in case you have some questions with respect to IVF. But for now and at the moment, what she's going to dwell most on is sickle cell and how to plan their conception. A lot is about to be talked about. Please call up someone. Yes, we've been talking a lot about this whole sickle cell crisis because it's sickle cell month, and we sympathize with as many sickle cell um
Warriors.
yeah, warriors.
Yeah.
Yes, we sympathize with you guys, and we're trying to see how best we can enlighten people so we don't have more people go through what you're going through, because I know that even you as a sickle cell warrior, you wouldn't even want to see your offspring go through what you're going through. And that's what we're talking about this. So as we get started, please call up someone, share this link with someone, as many people as you can do that. Do right away so they are able to connect. Drop your thoughts, your comments, and your questions in the comment section. We'll definitely address them appropriately and in good time. But for now, sit back and enjoy the show. Dr. Deborah, it's good to have you with us today.
Ruti, it's always a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, viewers.
So, viewers, we would just want you, Dr. Deborah, to while our viewers are listening, is there a difference between a sickle cell carrier and someone that has the sickle cell disease?
Yes, there's a lot of difference. When someone has the sickle cell disease, this is someone that's inherited two abnormal hemoglobin genes,
Hmm.
and one of them must be the hemoglobin S.
Oh,
There
wow.
are other abnormal hemoglobin genes apart from hemoglobin S. We have things like hemoglobin C,
Hmm.
hemoglobin beta thalassemia. But when you
Hmm.
say somebody has sickle cell disease, so the person has inherited one hemoglobin S and then another abnormal hemoglobin
Hmm.
gene. So when the two abnormal genes this person has inherited is hemoglobin S, when we have SS, commonly
Oh,
termed SS, that's
okay.
sickle cell disease,
Disease.
and that's
Okay.
like the commonest and most severe form of the sickle cell disease. That's sickle cell anemia. That's the
Hmm.
most common form we have in our environment.
Oh,
But in some
wow.
other environments, no, sickle cell beta thalassemia is more common, like in the India,
Okay.
Asia, and so on.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
But with sickle cell trait, this person has inherited just one
Oh,
abnormal
I
hemoglobin gene,
see.
that's hemoglobin
Okay.
S, and then has a normal gene. And
Hmm.
the major difference is in the symptoms they present with. Someone that has the sickle cell trait or just one abnormal gene is just a
Yeah.
carrier, and they are healthy carriers. They usually do not manifest with any symptoms.
Hmm.
But someone that has the sickle cell disease, it is severe and is a chronic lifelong disease
Oh, I
condition, yes,
see.
that can manifest with various kinds of complications. Yes, we know modern science is trying, but life is filled with a lot of things, health challenges for them.
Yeah.
And one of the things they present with is what we commonly call crisis,
Hmm.
vaso-occlusive crisis.
Hmm.
Yes, so they present with different kinds of them, a lot of them bone crisis,
Yeah.
pain all over the body. So, and what usually causes this crisis because of the symptomatology of this disease. So these sickle cells, this abnormal hemoglobin, cause the red blood cells to sickle when oxygen is
Oh.
released from them. And
Hmm.
these sickle cells do not, they do not move through the tiny capillaries and blood vessels
Hmm.
as the normal hemoglobin would. And
Good.
so
Okay.
they obstruct, the passage of blood. So
Oh.
they get blocked, they block
Hmm.
the system. So depriving
Okay.
the tissue of oxygen, and then
Okay.
that causes the pain because there's ischemia, no oxygen supply to the tissue
Oh.
can die.
Hmm.
So that causes the pain. And because these cells are abnormal, the body wants to remove them from circulation. So that causes the anemia, chronic anemia they have.
They have.
That means they're
Wow.
losing blood. Yes. So
Hmm.
because these cells are being broken down. So those are what the basic things that form the symptoms, that these people with this sickle cell
So
disease present
this.
with. But for sickle cell traits, they are healthy carriers. They usually do not present with any disease condition,
Hmm.
except in very, very extreme conditions, maybe
Conditions.
severe when they're severely dehydrated, or they're severely depleted of oxygen. Maybe they go to high altitudes, but
Hmm.
these are very rare.
Very wow. So, viewers, Dr. Debbie has just made us understand the whole physiology behind the SS, people that actually deal with SS. And this is so much information for someone that is even going through sickle cell crisis. I think she has made you understand why you go through the pains that you go through, why you go through some of the anemia that you go through. This is really a very simplified explanation for us to be able to understand why you are actually dealing with what you're dealing with. And then it worries me that Nigeria is actually the epicenter of sickle cell. It worries me that Nigeria is the epicenter of sickle cell. So I was going to ask, why does it seem to be that sickle cell remain a major reproductive health concern in sub-Saharan Africa and globally? Because it seems to be very common with
Yeah.
Africa. I don't know whether it's the Africans that do more of committing the crime of AS
No, no.
marrying and
Okay,
all of
well,
that.
it has somehow been linked to malaria. This is a
Oh,
malaria endemic area because
okay.
there's the sickle cell trait. Just having one abnormal sickle cell gene
Yeah.
protects against the severe form of malaria plasma parasite.
Oh,
Yes, the
okay.
falciparum malaria. So
Oh,
that's this is a malaria endemic. So inheritance, by way
yeah.
of inheritance over the years, because it has been seen that this tends to help to ameliorate the severe features of
Oh,
malaria. So
okay.
somehow, so it gets the herd, that's the population. So that is what gets inherited. So that
Oh,
might be why it's commoner in our environment,
mhm.
Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. But it's also common in other places, just that it's more with us. In the Mediterranean, Asian countries, it's also common. It's not as if you don't have sickle cell disease in the UK and other,
Yeah.
European countries, but like you said, the prevalence is less. Like in our own environment now, in Nigeria, for example, 3% of the population of our population have sickle cell disease,
Hmm.
and about 25% of the population are carriers, healthy carriers. That they have
Yeah.
the hemoglobin AS
Yes.
gene. Yes, they are healthy carriers. So you can see it's more. So that malaria prevalence, in this environment has been linked to why sickle cell disease is prevalent with us here.
Oh, so viewers, I hope we are also understanding why it seems to be disturbing our continent and our country as a whole. Well, yeah. So, um, I know we're talking about how sickle cell patients could actually plan their conception. But before we talk about that, what's the impact on this, or should I say impact now, or yes, let me say impact. What's the impact of sickle cell disease if it's a male, what's the impact on his fertility, and if it's a female, what's the
Yeah.
impact on their fertility? What do they deal with when they actually when they are sickle cell patients? What are the fertility issues that they might deal with,
Deal
or
with
what could be the impact of the whole disease
is
on
on
them?
them. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For the male, well, sickle cell disease has been shown to impact on sperm quality and so on. This
Hmm.
can be linked to the ischemia they have that can affect
Oh,
any tissue in the
in the
body.
body.
Yes. So
Okay. Hmm.
majorly that they could have erectile dysfunction and so
Dysfunction.
on.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
majorly that, and it can affect the gonads too.
Hmm.
So low testosterone and so on. All that will impact on their erectile function and so on. But
Yeah.
for females, the impact is a bit less. Impact is a bit less. But the major challenge with females is during pregnancy now,
Pregnancy.
carrying
Hmm.
pregnancy.
Hmm.
That's where the major impact. Yes, for fertility, maybe they are still very fertile, but maybe they have a slightly higher risk of having miscarriages. But the
Oh,
major complications are with pregnancy. That's where the challenge comes,
comes
carrying
in.
pregnancy to term,
Hmm.
delivering. Yes, that's
So
where
it
the
might
major
come down with
challenge.
recurrent malaria and anemia in
Yes,
pregnancy,
because a
apparently.
lot, yes. So a
Hmm.
lot of things are
Means a lot
common
of
with this,
hospitalization.
a lot of frequent
Hmm.
hospitalization. The frequency of crisis would increase
Hmm.
at this time. Frequent anemia. Pregnancy is a condition where there's increased demand for blood, and then sickle cell
Yes.
disease with all the issues with the blood circulation. So they can
Hmm.
have frequent anemias. So that means they might require more blood transfusions at this time. They also
Yeah.
at the risk of having even hypertensive disorders in pregnancy
Hmm.
when they have this condition. And then
Wow.
pregnancy itself is a thromboembolic state. That's, you have a high risk of forming clots,
Clots.
and sickle
Wow.
cell disease also causes this condition. So they are at increased risk of having thromboembolic phenomena. They can easily throw an embolus, and an embolus going to obstruct a blood vessel in the
Hmm.
brain
Hmm.
or in the heart or in the lungs, can become fatal. They can
Wow.
have strokes. So they
Hmm.
are at increased risk of the complications in them is more than in women that do not have, pregnant
Have.
women that do not have sickle cell
Yeah.
disease.
Hmm.
Yes. So pregnancy must really be planned in
For
them. So
them.
that's why preconception care is very important in
Important.
them. Yes.
This is a lot
Mhm.
for people that actually have to deal with the genotype SS. Yes, I know that somebody might be watching and they'll say, I've seen someone that is SS and they are healthy, they don't fall sick, 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 and there are some that fall very
Yeah,
sick,
yeah,
sick,
yeah.
sick, and all of that.
Sickle cell disease, there's a wide spectrum of it. We have
Mm,
SC, we have SS, and then there's a variant where you have a high amount of fetal hemoglobin still
mm,
persisting. Usually,
mm.
fetal hemoglobin should not persist beyond the first 6 months of life. But some people have
Okay.
this persistence of this fetal hemoglobin, and that tends
Oh,
to ameliorate the symptoms of sickle cell disease.
oh,
Yes, so
wow.
they might not come down with as frequent crises
The
as
way
someone that
some
doesn't have
do.
this persistence of
Mm,
the years. So that might be those categories of people might
wow.
have a milder form of the disease. So they don't have frequent
Yeah.
hospitalization, they don't have frequent pain crises, they don't
No.
have frequent anemia and so on. So their own disease tends to be a bit mild to
Mild.
moderate, yes.
But whether someone is showing the symptom or not, it doesn't change the fact that they are that
And
they
they are at risk of
of
complications that can happen, and those things can just come out of the blue. We've heard stories of, oh, this person has been stable, this person has
no,
been
yes,
healthy,
exactly.
and then all of a sudden one complication,
And that's
if
it.
not properly
Managed.
identified on time and managed, can be enough to end the person's life, unfortunately.
Wow, so viewers, Dr. Debbie has made us understand a lot. And I don't know if someone that's ASAS is actually thinking of getting married right
Mm,
now. You're watching. Having heard all this that people that actually have the sickle cell disease have to go through, do you just want to get married and conceive casually and then bring offspring that will go
mm,
through all this?
yeah.
I'm sure you don't want to do that. And that's why Dr. Debbie will lead us further into some of the preconception plans, or what's anyone that is sickle cell, or if you possibly ASAS, or possibly whatever your plans would be in order to conceive a baby. What are the plans, or what are
Mm,
the things that need to be done in view
mm,
of conception, or in view
okay.
of bringing a life into the world?
Yeah, so for clients, well, as medical professionals, we can always counsel. We don't stigmatize them.
Yeah.
We don't force them, but we just provide them all the information they need so that they can make informed choices for their reproduction. Yes, with modern science now, there are options, but like we say, this is an expensive love. A
Yeah.
lot of these options require finances, and so on. So
Hmm.
there are lots of options. The best counsel will be, if it's still possible, we will not encourage people that have ASAS to get married. But if you must get married, there are options that we could look at. You could try natural conception, and then you must do prenatal diagnosis. There are different methods for doing prenatal diagnosis. Prenatal diagnosis means when the woman is pregnant, some tests are done to see if this baby is carrying the SS genotype, if the
Hmm.
baby is SS or not.
Yes.
And they're done quite early, and even when they're done and the baby is found to be SS, and then that brings up another ethical issue of, are you going to terminate this
Terminate,
pregnancy, or are
exactly.
you going to carry this
How
pregnancy to
many more
term?
do you want to terminate?
Exactly. And then knowing that you're going to bring forth a child with sickle cell disease. So we have different forms of this prenatal diagnosis. Some are invasive, some are non invasive. So there's a
Hmm.
non invasive one, NIPT, that we can do at about 10 weeks. So that can be done. If you don't want to go through that, another route is, if IVF is going to be done, you can do what we call pre-implantation genetic testing. So
Okay.
an IVF must be done, and then
Mm.
the embryos that are generated, the woman can't have an embryo transfer immediately. Those
Oh.
embryos are sent for genetic testing. So the
Mm.
DNA of each of the embryos is tested to
Oh wow.
detect those embryos that have the sickle cell disease. So we do monogenic. So this monogenic disorder, so PGT is done, is detected, so that those embryos are then removed, so that
Mm.
you can have a transfer with an embryo that's either AS or AA genotype.
Yeah.
So that can be done. And then if you don't want to go through that route of doing pre-genetic implantation testing, you could decide to have IVF with one donor gamete. Both of
Mm.
you are AS. So either the man can say we should use donor sperm, and the donors are usually AA genotype, or the woman would say we should use donor eggs, and the donors are AA, genotype.
Okay,
So
so
you
it
know
could
that,
be
yes,
the
remove
woman's
that
egg
risk.
and a donor sperm, or the man's
Exactly.
sperm and a donor egg.
Exactly. So
Oh,
you remove that
okay.
risk of having a child with SS, though
Mm.
you can have a child with the sickle cell trait. And like we mentioned, those are still healthy
Healthy baby.
individuals.
Mm.
So those are the options. And then another option could be adoption. You
Mm.
can decide to adopt a child. So that's another option. Or decide that you would not have, any biological children. So that's when you say you want to adopt, you are deciding that you won't have any
Mm.
biological children. Yes, so you can see that a lot of options are bound.
Available.
Yeah, but these
Yes.
options, some of them bring up ethical issues, some of them also bring up the issue of finances. So we tell our clients, this is an expensive love. Yes, there are things that can be done, and these things are processes, so you also know that you have the emotional capacity to deal with
Mm.
them. Imagine, okay, you get pregnant, then you do the NIPT, and they tell you this child has a high risk of having sickle cell disease. So what
It's a
is the next
lot.
step? Yeah, you can see
Exactly.
is a lot, is a lot. So in my own wisdom
Opinion.
or my own
Yes.
opinion, I believe it's better to avoid it. So we always tell people. So that's where counseling comes in,
Mm.
especially for couples that know that one of your partners is AS. So doing your children's genotype, so that the counseling can even start from an early age,
Mm.
oh, you are AS, so that even before they get into emotion relationship where emotions become involved,
Yeah.
you know that, oh, I'm AS, so I must know your genotype on time.
True.
Oh, what's your genotype? Do you know your genotype? Let's get it checked. That is very important. Even in sickle cell, for people with sickle cell disease that are attending clinics, even as they attain reproductive age group, this counseling can also start for them.
Mm.
You are SS. The only kind of person you can marry is someone with AA genotype. You can't marry someone with AS, so that is ingrained into their
Yeah,
subconscious. So that
exactly.
as they go
Mm.
into, even the talking phase of relationship, before emotions get
Set in,
involved, you
yes.
know what your genotypes are. I think at that stage it's much easier
To detach
to detach
or
and
set
end
boundaries, and
exactly,
then
or end the
okay, it
relationship.
ends here.
Yes, or know that this is not a relationship that can
That could,
end in
yes,
marriage before.
exactly.
So I think that is the best counsel. But if you must, there's some people that, erroneously their genotypes were done and they were given the wrong genotypes. We've seen that
Yeah.
happening. And then, they get into, they're married now. Maybe they even have a child, and this child turns out to be SS, and they're wondering,
Oh.
where is it from? I was told I'm AA. The other person might say, I was told I'm AS. So we were not both told we're
No.
AS. And then
Mm.
the retesting is done and this mistake is made. So
Mm.
what is the way forward for other children? So that kind of situation now, all these other options could come in.
Mm.
All these other options to be able to determine the gene, whether the
Yeah.
baby has the fetus has this SS genotype before the
Mm.
baby is born,
Born.
can be exploited.
Wow, a lot. This is a
Mm.
lot for people that actually have the sickle cell traits, and you can't just afford to conceive casually, like
Yeah,
Dr. Debbie has mentioned to us. And that's why I also take her stand. And even the last time Dr. Ken did mention, while in the talking stage, somehow just
yeah,
know, have the wisdom to know it doesn't show
yeah,
desperation. You are just looking out for yourself. And
yes,
then, yes, if you must get into it, like I would say, make the money, because it's still money that is involved to
yeah.
do IVF. It's still money that is involved
To
to
do
do
the
the investigations, even
decisions.
in the course of
Yeah,
pregnancy. Money is involved to do pre-implantation genetic testing and all of that. So make sure you're well informed, and that's why we are taking out time to do thorough explanations to enlighten you, our viewers, so that we're well informed, and then you take responsibilities for your action, and then you don't allow your children to regret. Like the last time I was saying
Mm.
that I saw a post of a teenager, maybe about 15 years. She was like, parents leave assets for their
Mm.
children, and my parents left me with pain.
Mm.
So you can
Yes.
imagine if your children have to even say, "Curse be the day I
It was
was
born.
born," and all those kind
Yeah.
of talk. I mean, you as a parent, how would you
You
feel
won't feel good.
knowing that it's
Mm.
something that you
Could
could
be
have
prevented.
avoided? And
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
so as someone that is AS and you even intend to go into an AS relationship, still you can't afford to be casual about it. You have to be very intentional. You don't just get pregnant
And then
casually.
people use faith it, but it's
Yeah.
God that has given us this wisdom. God has
Yeah.
opened up this ability to be able to test. In the days of ignorance,
Yes,
like the Bible says, God
exactly.
would forgive, overlook. But now,
Yeah.
no, we because I know a story, a couple, they were both AS.
Hmm.
They never knew,
Hmm.
those days they don't even do pre, they are quite
Yeah,
elderly now.
yes.
They don't do all this marriage counseling
And all
testing that
and
you do
all,
before marriage and all
yes,
that. They never
yes.
knew, and they had 4 children.
Hmm.
None of the children is carrying the SS gene.
Oh,
None of them is
wow.
SS. It's
Wow.
later when their children, they were not getting married. I'm AS. I'm AS.
I know.
Mommy and daddy, okay, do your own. What is your own
Yes,
genotype? Discovered they were
exactly.
both AS.
Wow, that was
And
really a
God
narrow
just,
escape.
yes, that was a narrow
Wow.
escape. But
Hmm.
we can't dwell on that and say, yes,
Yes.
God has given us this wisdom now. And God gave us, gave you autonomy, gave this you the capacity to make the right choices and right
Hmm.
decisions for yourself.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's being wise or even showing that you're a man or woman of faith to now say you want to go
Go
ahead.
into such risk,
Yes, you
and
want
you'll
to
be like,
faith it
life
and
is
go
all
ahead.
about risk,
Yes,
and
no,
then
no.
you're
If that
it's
risk involved only your own mind, but imagine the innocent
yes.
children that you
Hmm.
bring,
That's
that have
true.
have to
True.
deal with a life of pain, and a lot of
Exactly.
them, for
Hmm.
so many, they don't even get to live optimal and high quality lives because of all they
Yes,
have to
then
deal with.
it's
Yes.
true.
So I think the
Absolutely true.
wisdom is, once it's better to avoid it. you know
Even though now we heard and know that some people have been cured of sickle cell, but this cure is not
it's not
accessible. It's
accessible. How
not
many people can
accessible.
access it?
Yes, it's not
Yes.
accessible to all, and that's why you
Yes.
can't just gamble the life of your future offspring and just
Yes.
decide to conceive casually or anyhow. Even in the relationship, because now these days, even in the course of relationship, a lot of people get pregnant, and then the next
Mm,
thing, you are giving birth even before you got married.
mm.
Maybe in that point you have not even decided that you want to get married or
Mm.
not, and then maybe one random fling, and then you are
The
delivering,
child
you're
is
seeing the
born.
baby is sickle. So that's why you can't afford, once you know you're AS, everything about you has to just be intentional. you
Exactly.
can't you
That's just
can't
the word
afford to you
intentionality.
have to be
To go
very
into
intentional.
relationship must be
Everything
intentional.
has to be
Yes.
intentional. You
Mm.
can't afford to do things anyhow and just behave like the AA. The
Yes.
AA, they seem to be the spec that can do as they like. But once you are AS, you can't actually do as you like. And even for someone that is SS, you also cannot
You
just
can't. You
get
can't.
married to anybody. I
Yes.
mean, you can't be SS and be thinking of getting
Married
married
to
to
an AS. You can't. It has to
you
be
know,
someone with
because
AA.
yes, because you have higher chances of getting babies that are SS than even having the AS in
Yes.
itself, and that's
Yes.
why you have to also consider that you also
Your own
cannot
chance is
just
50%. If an
mm,
SS marry someone with, yes, there's a 50% chance each
yes.
pregnancy, because people tend to say, oh, when if you have 4 children, so that means two of the children. No,
Mm,
for each pregnancy, there's a 50% chance of having
chance.
a child with the
Oh wow.
SS,
And if
gene.
it's AS is 25%, and
Percent for each pregnancy,
and you hear
yes.
some of them saying, so it means the chances of achieving babies with AA or
Is
AS is
it's
higher, but still
each
sometimes
pregnancy you could
it
all
doesn't.
the four, people use four as the
Mm,
criteria for measuring.
yeah.
All the 4 children can be SS if
Hmm.
you're unfortunate.
Wow. So
Yes,
you
because
see,
for each pregnancy that plays out.
wow, this
Yeah.
is just a lot. And
Mm.
viewers, please, if you know someone that might actually be thinking of going into this decision,
Yeah.
please get this video across to them, because there's so much they need to know. In fact, you could refer them to just watch through all the live
Yeah.
within February. We've been talking a lot about this because we keep seeing on a daily basis
Yeah.
makes us wants to talk about this more and more,
More, yeah.
enlighten people, make you know what you're actually going into, because sometimes they really don't know until the
They
reality
don't
stays on the
exactly. That's a
at the
love,
face.
like I said, love is
Mm.
blind. Is it love that is blind? Yes, love is
Yeah.
blind. Marriage will open
Marriage,
it.
open
Yeah,
your
a lot of
eyes.
people, the emotions, in relationship, courtship, the
Yes.
emotions are really high. They've not, but if
Yes.
you really, I think maybe they should interact with people that have this disease.
Mm,
People
exactly.
suffering with sickle cell disease.
Yes. Know
If you
what they
interact
go
with them
through.
and really let them have a heart,
Oh goodness.
one-on-one conversation with one of them, you really understand what it means, to live with this disease, and you know that it's not something you want your offsprings or your
To
child to
have.
have to deal with or
And
go
one
through.
thing you must know, if you are not yet a parent, it's when you see your child, so you
Mm,
wish you are the
mm.
one sick than your child.
My,
So imagine
yeah,
you see your child going through this, and then you now still think of, aside the fact that the child is traumatized, you now realize you are the reason for why this
child
child
is
is going
going through
through.
this.
Can you forgive
Imagine that kind
yourself
of
of this?
pain.
Like, it's something
Mm.
you really cannot
That
forgive
trauma is not
yourself.
something.
For every
Yeah,
time you see this child, you just know it's, I could have prevented this.
this,
I could
yes.
have prevented it, and you keep living with that regret. I'm sure we don't want to go that path. So that's why we're trying as much as possible to make you all informed. So you take well informed decisions and get the best out of it, best out of all this information that is being shared or passed across here. So well, as we to preparing for conception, the cell disease, those trying to maybe settle down with someone else that is also having same genotype as them. What's general counsel to people generally watching?
Yeah, so like we said, my counsel will be make responsible choices. We've talked about this today. The best choice will be to discontinue that relationship. But if you're already in it, then make sure you take you utilize all these options that are available
Available.
to have a child without sickle cell disease.
Mm,
Don't leave it. Don't gamble it. Don't gamble a child's life.
yeah.
That won't be so unfair to that child. Make take advantage of all these medical options, and
Mm,
do something that will lead to you having a child that doesn't have to live with the burden of sickle cell disease.
mm. So, viewers, hope we've noted that. Please take every bit of every information shared here today. Very, very important. Share this link as much as possible. If you need to rewatch this, just in case you didn't start with us from the beginning, please do that. And look forward, check more for updates with respect to this topic, because there's just a lot that cannot be exhausted even on one sitting. You could watch the previous ones, look out for our previous all videos. There's a lot of times that we've talked about this, so you could look out for as many videos that we've talked about with respect to the genotype mismatch and all of that. Yeah, some people might be error and you found
Yeah,
yourself in that.
yeah.
So now you're in it. What's the way
Mm.
forward? We have also given you the way forward. So please, I really do hope that this is able to address and reduce the menace of sickle cell disease that we have to deal with in our environment, in our continent, and in the world at large. Well, it's been amazing having your dear viewers stick with us today on this topic and on this session. We're glad to have you guys. Please continue to stay tuned with us. Keep dropping your thoughts and your questions. We would definitely respond, even if it's via a private message. So you could just slip into our DM just in case your question has not been answered, and we'll definitely respond once the message is seen. Once again, if you are in this category of the ASARs or you're already dealing with sickle cell, yes, as much as we are talking about this and what could be done, it doesn't mean we're not criticizing your
Yeah.
genotype. We're just trying to see how you could make better means out of conception and bringing children that will have a high productive life, and not children that become a burden to you, that become a source of regret to you. And for those people that are already going through this, we hope that you have the might, we hope that you have the power and all that it takes to navigate through this and um, go through it with ease to the best of your might and your power. And we hope that God sees you through it all. But for now, we hope that you have a lovely evening. That will be all for now. Please have a great day or great evening ahead. Bye.